Now we're going to talk about our types of needles, because just like there's lots of different types of yarn, there's lots of different types of needles. And as a knitter, when you start to knit a little bit more, you'll get a preference. And I definitely recommend you try every one of these. But like I said, in this course, we're using circular needles, which I've already talked about a little bit in the intro video. When we think of knitting, usually people will look at these types of needles, and these are called straight single point needles. Not a fan. Mostly because I find them awkward and I drop them a lot because I'm a clumsy knitter. And they're not as flexible to use. They also can hurt your hands a little bit when you start knitting a lot, which is definitely possible. And it holds all the weight of your project right here. So that's why it starts to hurt your wrists, and it will actually hurt your fingers as well. So definitely try these out. These come in varying lengths from like really long to kind of as short as this, and they come in sets of 2. I just only happen to have one because I never use them. The other ones we have are double point needles, and as you see, this one only had one single point. This one's got 2 points on either end, and they usually come in sets of 4 or 5, sometimes even more than that, and they vary in length and obviously thickness as well. These are used to knit socks or sometimes hats. They're an alternative to circular needles. I don't love them just because there's a lot of them and I drop them all the time. But definitely something you can use, especially when you're knitting smaller circumferences like baby socks, things like that. Circular knitting needles. Now we've already talked about these, and here's another example of circular knitting needles. And like I said, they've got a cord and then 2 points or needle points. You can use these to knit circularly, so knit in the round when you're making socks, hats, things like that, but you can also use them to knit back and forth. So they're kind of the best of both worlds. They're kind of like if you put double points and straight needles together, this is what you get. And they come in varying cable lengths. Like I said, I like 16-inch circulars, but they come in longer ones as well. Like this one's really big, and these needles are actually super huge. But as you can see, this cord is longer. And for right now, I want you guys to stick to smaller cords just because you don't want extra stuff getting in the way while you're learning to knit. And knitting needles come in different materials. So you'll see like this is wood. And the reason I'm not recommending wood for learning to knit is the yarn tends to stick to wood needles a little bit more. So it can be harder to slip your stitches off of these. Try to stick with something like these, which is stainless steel, or plastic needles are also really good as they are a bit slippery to use, which is good for learning to knit. So the other thing I wanted to mention was, and you'll see your needle size cheat sheet in your textbook, so you'll want to refer to that, but needles come in different sizes. So as you can see, these ones are thinner than these ones. These create smaller stitches, this creates really huge stitches, and like I said before, we're aiming for something in the middle like this. So depending on where you are in the world, they are numbered different things. We have millimeters, we have US sizes. Canada usually tends to stick with UK sizes. So definitely refer to your cheat sheet because it gets a little bit confusing when you see something in a pattern and it's only written in US sizes. You'll need to be able to convert that into something that you understand.